Daenerys Targaryen will be brought back to life. Just like Jon Snow was, Daenerys will be resurrected with the help of Red Priestess. In the end of Game of Thrones, it was explicitly stated that Drogon was last seen flying east towards Volantis with Daenerys in his claws. So Drogon is taking Dany to Volantis. Volantis equals Red Priests who have the ability to resurrect people, which equals the most powerful of them, Kinara, who happens to be Dany's supporter, which then equals Dany getting brought back to life. Now that theory of mine is about to become reality. Game of Thrones Season 9 is going to happen soon, in the form of a Game of Thrones sequel show called Snow, which is currently in development at HBO. George R.R. Martin has confirmed that he's involved with the development of a sequel called Snow, and has shared a few tidbits about the show via his website, including the fact that Kit Harington himself, an actor who played Jon Snow, came up with the concept.
It was Kit Harington who brought the idea to us,
Martin said, adding that Harington handpicked the showrunner and writing staff.
I cannot tell you the names of the writers, showrunners, since that has not been cleared for release yet. But Kit brought him in as well, his own team, and they are terrific.
Snow will pick up exactly where Game of Thrones ended. Game of Thrones ended with Dany being killed by Jon Snow, and her dead body being taken by Drogon. Where is Drogon taking killed Dany was the question which was answered at the end of the finale. And as soon as the last episode of Game of Thrones ended, I'm talking literal a minute after the last episode of Season 8 ended, I was the first to publish a theory of mine in which Dany will be resurrected and brought back to life. Now 5 years later, this theory is never closer to coming into reality with a Game of Thrones sequel show Snow being in development. In the disappointing Season 8 finale, Jon finds himself with no choice but to kill Dany, the Mad Queen, influenced by the destruction of King's Landing, but also by Tyrion Lannister, who convinced him that his family will never be safe as long as Dany lives. Drogon, having a connection with his mother, came to the scene, and it was a heartbreaking moment. Drogon nudges her, tries to wake her, and it breaks everyone's hearts. Having destroyed the Iron Throne, one thing that made his mother Dany mad and evil, Drogon gently lifted his mother with his claws and flew away across the narrow sea. One question remained. Where exactly is Drogon taking Dany? Sam answered that question in a small council towards the end of the episode. When King Bran asks for an update on Drogon's whereabouts late in the finale, Sam says he was last spotted flying east toward Volantis. What this means is that Dany will be resurrected, or at least they are heavily hinting at it since Drogon is taking her to Volantis. So why Volantis and what's in Volantis? Dany will likely be resurrected by the Red Priestess Kinara, who happens to be at the same city Drogon was last spotted flying towards. Who is Kinara? Kinara is from the same order Melisandre was, except Kinara is way higher in rank, and thus way more powerful. If Melisandre, Red Priestess, was able to resurrect Jon Snow, then Kinara, who is one of the highest ranking priestesses, would be able to at least do the same to Daenerys Targaryen, and bring her back to life. In fact, I think the showrunners wanted to imply to us viewers that Dany will probably not stay dead for long. Why else would they mention Drogon flying towards Volantis? They could have had Drogon flying with Dany's body towards Valyria, where Targaryens originate. This could have been a possible destination for them both, seeing as it's where the Targaryens traditionally lived with their dragons. Second, they could have had Drogon flying towards the Dothraki Sea. Drogon and his dragon siblings were born in Dothraki territory, and they could have had him flying back to the place he feels is home, but they didn't. They specifically mentioned Drogon flying east towards Volantis. The first time we see Volantis is in Season 5 as Tyrion and Varys were making their way through a market. They spot a Red Priestess preaching to a crowd of slaves, who catches Tyrion's eye as he stops to listen to her. She preaches that the Lord of Light has sent them a savior, the Dragon Queen Daenerys Targaryen, who has been waging a campaign against slavery in Meereen. It's not just a city where people love and support Dany, but more importantly, Volantis is home to Kinara, a Red Priestess who made a brief appearance in Season 6 to lend her support to Dany. She met Tyrion Lannister and Varys in the Great Pyramid of Meereen. Tyrion asked her people to rally behind Dany, to ask them to see her as their protector and guardian, not a conqueror. Kinara was happy to assist Tyrion, saying, Dany is the one who was promised. From the fire she was reborn to remake the world. Dany has been sent to lead the people against the darkness in this war, and in the great war still to come. Kinara promised to spread the word about Dany throughout Essos. So we know that the followers of the Lord of Light stand behind Dany, including Kinara, whose titles read Flame of Truth, Light of Wisdom, and the first servant of the Lord of Light, the High Priestess of the Red Temple of Volantis. She's one of the highest ranking of R'hllor clerics, since she firmly believes that Daenerys Targaryen is the princess that was promised, and the one who will make this world a better place, much like Melisandre believed in Jon when she resurrected him. Could it be that Dany will get resurrected by Kinara once Drogon reaches Volantis? In my opinion, it's an obvious yes. If not, they would not mention Drogon flying toward Volantis, which we know is the capital of the Lord of Light religion. A place filled with red priests who worship Dany. And most importantly, that's where Dany's biggest supporter among the red priests and also the most powerful of them all, Kinara, is. I think this is the same how they ended Jon's story as well. Jon goes back to the wall and takes the black, even though there's no need for the Night's Watch anymore. Jon knows this and tells Tyrion that it's ridiculous the Order even exists, because there's no need for them. Then in the closing montage he wears black, but he also goes beyond the wall with Tormund, Ghost and a bunch of wildlings. Yes, Jon is wearing black, much like Dany is dead, but it's implied that he's not coming back to the wall, but is rather staying beyond. Just like how it's implied Dany will not stay dead for long, because the place Drogon is taking her to, Volantis, pretty much means Dany will get resurrected. Jon becomes king beyond the wall and Dany the queen of Essos. That's an ideal start of season 9, or rather an ideal start of the sequel show called Snow. Dany's storyline would be about her resurrection, her realization that Essos is where she belongs, but also her seeking revenge for those who wronged her. After being resurrected, Dany with Drogon and Kinara by her side would go from Volantis to Meereen, where she left Daario and the second sons in charge. Dany will decide to rule lands in Essos, where people love her, instead of Westeros, where she's feared and hated. Same as Jon when Jon was resurrected and immediately left the Night's Watch. Dany will not want to rule something where people don't appreciate her and love her. She will rule Essos instead, where she's their Misa. Her ultimate destination is to be the Queen of Essos based in Meereen, because those are people who deserve her. But before that, she will seek revenge, much like Jon Snow did avenge his own death upon being resurrected as well. Dany's list will include Jon, who killed her, Tyrion, who made Jon do it, and Sansa, who pretty much started all of it, by revealing Jon has the best claims to Tyrion, who then told it to Varys. And that's when the whole plot against her started. Sansa was Littlefinger's student. She knew this would cause Dany's downfall, and Dany herself recognized that as well in episode 5 of season 8. She will go to Westeros with Drogon, Kinara, Daario, and his 2,000 second sons, as well as remaining unsullied and Dothraki to seek revenge against those who plotted and executed her, just like Jon did after he was resurrected. The Unsullied, numbering 4,000 heavy infantry at the end of season 8, left for North, but I'm certain they will go back to Dany upon finding out she is alive again. The Dothraki, numbering 50,000 light cavalry according to the official report, left King's Landing for Essos and will also without a doubt continue to serve their Khaleesi when they find out she's not dead after all. And just like that, Dany again has the greatest army, numbering 56,000, and her dragon Drogon along with her advisors Kinara, Grey Worm and Daario. In season 9 of Game of Thrones, season 1 of Snow, I would imagine Dany driven by revenge, less naive and more calculated. Basically, she will go against half of the kingdom, the North ruled by Sansa, the Westerlands ruled by Tyrion, but also against the Riverlands and the Vale, who will support the North, as they are Stark's relatives. The Crownlands will also support them, as Bran Stark rules it now, and he will help his sister. The Reach, that is now ruled by Bronn, would also support them, since it's Tyrion and Bran who gave him those lands and titles. Iron Islands, ruled by Yara Greyjoy, and Dorne, ruled by the new Prince of Dorne, would definitely pledge their support Dany when they find out she's been resurrected. In the season 8 episode 4, Prince of Dorne pledged himself to Dany, and I believe he would honor that pledge. If not, Dany can always win his support by marrying him. As we all know, that's the best way to make allies. 2 kingdoms are left to declare their support. King beyond the wall Jon Snow is an obvious one. Dany is coming to kill him as well, so he joins forces with Sansa and Bran Stark. Stormlands and its Lord Gendry is a complicated one. Yes, he's a good friend of Stark's and Jon, but they're not the ones who legitimized him, gave him those lands and titles. It was Dany, and I believe his honor will bind him to help Dany. After all, Tyrion did tell Dany that the Lord of Storm's End will be forever loyal to you after she legitimized him. Although Dany is coming to avenge her death, as I said earlier, she does not plan on ruling Westeros. That's a good parallel with Robert's rebellion. In both cases, the throne was not the main goal, but at the end, when the vengeance is over, someone has to rule it. I think that's when Gendry comes in for Dany. She doesn't want to rule Westeros, she just wants revenge. But someone will have to rule it when the war is won, and that's when Gendry comes in. To secure his loyalty, I believe she will promise Gendry the throne. Bottom line is that Daenerys Targaryen will be resurrected, and after that, the Dragon Queen will be back to Westeros, but not to rule it. Only to avenge her death, after which she will go back to Essos, where she will rule and serve the people who love her. Drogon is taking Dany to Volantis, where Kinara is, Dany's supporter and the most powerful follower of the Lord of Light. Far more powerful than Melisandre, who brought Jon back. Why else would Drogon be flying to Volantis? That's not where they were born. That's not their ancestral home. That's not where they lived. The only connection Dany has with that place is the Red Priest who supports her, and who has the ability to resurrect people. Now, 5 years later, this theory is never closer to coming into reality with a Game of Thrones sequel show called Snow being in development. Snow is pretty much going to be like a Game of Thrones Season 9 because it will pick up the story exactly where Season 8 ended. Let me know your thoughts about this old theory of mine in which Dany will be resurrected. Do you think the Dragon Queen will seek her revenge and go back to Westeros, or do you think she will stay in Essos? Let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.